Do. Hey guys, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with a podcast with Jeremiah Owyang. Everybody say hello, Dashi. Hello, Dashi. So you have been a a leader in Web 2, and then you had, over the last couple of years, had decided to start speaking about Web 3. Originally, you were, when Web 2 was happening, were you one of the early adopters, or did you recognize after the crash, hey, these ones are actually really good, and I'm gonna put my weight behind these guys.
Thanks. Well, first of all, glad to be here, Randy, and good to see you. We hung out in New York a few weeks ago at NFT NYC, so thank you having me on the show, and
Yeah,
hi to everybody. Yes, I was really early on to Web two, and in fact, in that time we just called it blogging, and I launched a blog early on in the days, and was very active in building that as part of like my way to communicate with the market, and people recognized me from that, and it opened a lot of doors. And then from there we added on social networks and RSS, and there's Dan Schwabel, and then also syndication, RSS and other technologies in Wiki and Ajax. And then eventually the term shifted to social media, which became Web 2. So, yeah, before Web 2. And Dan, by the way, was early on in the space. We had parallel careers where we helped to launch social at the big companies we were working at the time for the corporate, which was opposite of what companies would do because they wanted to limit the amount of information being shared. So, yeah, I was early on in that space. After that, and I launched a couple of companies with some partners and my own solo companies as well for about a decade. During that period, I also was tracking the sharing economy, which was then the promise of peer-to-peer interactions, right, where people could share commerce, time, their homes, cars, and the thought was that the contributors, the people, the individuals would have the power, Randy, to really own their own destiny. And there's like five things to think about. There's like governance, there's your data, there's your identity, there's actually the ability to create, and then also to share in the financial upsides. So those are the five characteristics that I look at. And guess what? For both of those movements, Web 2 and the sharing economy, the end users, the people really did not benefit from any of those five things. I don't know. Did you do you think the users have benefited from Web 2 or the sharing economy?
um, I mean, some people that were pretty inventive did that said, oh, hey, I can make a Facebook marketplace. I can advertise on this. People that just get a lot of followers. I mean, you probably know better than most people. You get a list of really large emails, and you can sell it. Anyone that does that type of thing, even now with followers on Instagram,
Right.
OnlyFans, selling things, that they, their network can be worth a lot. Uh,
True.
when you said that what you were doing went against what most companies were doing at the time, as far as sharing information, how did you convince them that this was the right move to do?
I do remember that experience. It was a lot of education and a lot of emails and berating them and pushing them. I had to do a lot of pushing, internal evangelism. But the main thing to do was to show them that the customers were adopting these tools. And that people trust each other more than the company's PR department. And that was a big wake up call for the PR department and comms,
Yeah.
who felt, frankly, a little insecure about it and defensive. And so they didn't really want to do it. But then I said, look, customers are doing this and they're talking to each other. I remember there was one instance that really woke everybody up when the customers started to share the pricing lists of these products. And it was
Uh,
discovered that different customers had different pricing. And people are like, what the F? This is not right. Yeah. And so this was once I said, look, guys, we don't have a choice now. Information is transparent. We have to go and be part of this. And so I do remember that being a defining moment.
so so there's a couple of things that I'm thinking of where different customers had different prices.
Yeah.
What what I've noticed as far as speakers, or people that are running themselves individually that are independent,
Uh,
it is the people that are usually a bit more aggressive and conscientious that will negotiate themselves higher salaries or higher speaking fees, and those happen to be men. Did you happen to see that trend as well, like the
you said
male
men.
customer?
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
did you happen to see?
This
Mhm.
wasn't really a consumer product. It was a kind of a B2B product, so it
Okay.
didn't quite fit that particular mold. But yeah, I understand that instance.
So,
That's different market.
so you said you had to berate them a little bit. Can you tell me like some of the emails that were sent? Like, are you guys
God,
getting
that's a long
sued?
time ago. No, not that, but it's just like, hey, this is happening, and look, our competitors are doing it, and like, I know it's uncomfortable, but we need to do it, and
So,
um, it was a lot of work.
so that reminds me, we're talking
Yeah.
about information. Is that if you take a look at for the last month of Decentraland marketplace active sellers and active buyers, it is it is stupid low for Decentraland, and most of these are just plots of land. And it
Mhm.
was like you can see there's just a couple of people, like single digits. Where if you look at veve active users, active traders, it looks like it's in the tens of thousands for those numbers. So that's why, I mean, if you look at the KPI of a bunch of these companies, and now into Web3, what mistakes do you think that there are a lot of companies or individuals that are investing doing right now that they're putting their money where they maybe shouldn't, or they are misinterpreting some of the data? What mistakes do you see happening?
Okay. So, all right. So now we're talking Web3. Well, God, I made a lot of mistakes, Randy. I purchased NFT projects from all over the market. I have over 100 VV assets. I have numerous Ethereum. I have Solana NFTs. I have some from like, Nifties and Dapper and other like L2s as well. So, I am definitely underwater. Definitely underwater. So I made a ton of mistakes. But you have to think long term, because while many of my pieces are underwater now in this significant market pullback, will they be in 2 years from now? Some of them are gone. Some of them are dead and they're never going to recover. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
But I'll sell them as a, tax loss, right? I'll just sell them at a major loss and write that off.
yeah.
Um, I think it's really hard criteria to figure out what's going to last. But I think you and I and many of the people who are watching know that, betting on existing IP that's been around for 100 years is probably a good bet, as long as they don't abandon the project. Like, we don't know what Disney, Marvel, DC is going to do with these NFTs on VV. We don't know if they're going to care about it.
It's a wild guess.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably going to care about it, but we just don't know fully, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of this was a bet and a risk. When it comes to metaverse, so I would look at disclosure. I'm an investor in Animoca before they acquired Sandbox, but Sandbox looks like a promising metaverse. Decentraland is comes up a lot. So I think there's benefit in having land for the metaverses that will matter. The question is, which one is going to be the dominant ones? We don't really know who is going to be leading the space, and the market changes fast.
Yeah.
So it's
But
a complex question. I didn't give you a good answer because I
no,
don't
no, it's
know.
fine. Funny you should mention that Sandbox. I'm having Janine Yorio on Thursday, who's
Oh,
a CEO of Every Realm, and she has the most amount of land in Sandbox like ever. So
how
it's
many parcels does she have?
I just know it's the most. Like she has like Every Realm has the most. So I thought that was really cool. I plan
Wow,
to get into it with her on Thursday. It'd be really interesting to watch. I
curious.
think at
Yeah.
9. Uh,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
the
I'll tune in for that.
have you had a you mentioned Decentraland Sandbox. Have you had a chance to take a look at Earth 2?
Not not in a long time. In fact, nobody really mentions that project to me. I mean, it's an older project, right?
It started in I think no or it released in November of 2020. I happened to get in December 2020, bought a bunch of land, and they had this issue where there was they had PayPal for a while, like as a cash out, and I think they have it now again. But they because there were some people that I think the banks weren't compliant or whatever, they couldn't
Uh,
get their money, so they flagged it as like a scam. And they
oh,
PayPal had so many things that they lost PayPal for a little while, and they had to be on
oh
the hook
man.
for all of that money. So they had to find other ways to do it. So there was a bunch of people on YouTube calling it a scam. And obviously it's not. They partnered with Matic and Polygon, partnered with Mapbox, they partnered with everyone, people that would do their research. But their crypto is about to come out in the next like 2 quarters. So they
Mhm.
they did the land sale first, and they're doing the crypto next, as opposed to Vivi and Omi that they did the NFTs and crypto first, and the land sale won't come until next year. When the Viviverse comes out, is that something that you'd also invest in, or do you think that because you have the NFTs and you have the
Right.
Omi, there's no need to trickle down?
When? Sure. I mean, I'd like to see it. They haven't really released a lot of information. Sure, they've talked about it on Twitter Spaces, like in Q4, Q3 last year, but I haven't seen anything. I mean, I haven't seen any renderings or anything. So to me, it's all speculative at this moment. I do know, being an investor in Animoca, that creating a metaverse requires a significant amount of resources. Like
Mhm.
Sandbox has a team of hundreds of people, and they've been working on this for several years, just to get it to look like the a Minecraft experience.
Yeah,
So I don't know how many employees Vivi has on the metaverse. That would be important information to disclose,
yeah.
but there's a lot of work. So color me a little um, cautious until we see some proof of pudding.
Agreed. So and again, this is really just speculation. Reese had mentioned on Akil Patterson's podcast that
Yeah.
they not only pay for devs and they pay for X, Y, and Z, but they also pay for the VBverse. And if that's not something that falls on their own devs, it would make sense to assume that they
Mhm.
license that out and they pay
Okay.
another company for it.
Yeah, and I assume they did. I know they do contract and license out quite a bit to other developers and development firms. So I'm assuming that they would do that because it is a very specific skill set.
Yeah.
Um, so what I would be looking at with the VV is there a tight integration with the existing assets, and specifically the premium brands that are already involved, in particular Disney. But Disney's CEO last or 2 months ago announced that they are making significant headways into launching their own metaverse. Now,
Mhm.
Disney wasn't really clear. Does that mean they're going to partner with Akomi and Vivi, or are they going to build their own? They didn't really mention it. But knowing that Disney's pattern that they want to own all of their own IP and everything, um, and they have enough staff and folks, they're probably going to want to build their own. So I'd really want to know, what is the relationship between a huge brand and Viviverse?
Well, just speculation, but
Yeah.
Disney typically doesn't build. They're not good at making video games. For
Hmm.
some of the
They
biggest games
partner.
out there, yeah, Kingdom Hearts is amazing. People wait so long for that, but Disney contracts that out to the people that make, I think, Square Enix, and they contract that out there. So it
They
would
do
make sense,
franchise. Yeah.
yeah, that their metaverse, which they said they wanted mostly in AR, which I thought was really interesting.
Oh,
That they would,
interesting.
yeah, because they might do something along like the lines
Huh.
of Pokemon Go, where they already have an existing land, whether it's in Paris or California or Florida, that maybe. And this again, wild speculation, but there's a mall near me that has a selfie shop where it
Cool.
has backdrops for all of the different things if you want, like in an alley and castle. It would make sense that with Disney's existing infrastructure, that they could have AR in their parks with the backdrops where you could take pictures with some of your golden moments or some of the Pixar
Hmm.
NFTs.
Hmm.
Again, just all speculation though.
So my thought is, and there was an article I read, that the cost of going to Disneyland and Disney World for a family is getting close to $10,000.
Oh, I've got that airfare, hotel, fast
Yeah,
pass, everything, the
everything.
works.
And those costs can only go up because the parks are limited in size and population is increasing.
Yeah.
So, do you all have $10,000 for a vacation to Disneyland? I'm not doing that. Um, what's up, Pavel? Thanks for putting us on the large screen. Um, but the thought is that the parks are for the elite experiences, those that will save up take a few years to save up, where the metaverse is for everybody. Walt Disney's original vision was Disneyland was for everybody, but that's when the population was a lot lower in the world. And now I think the metaverse will be for everybody. The Disney metaverse, or AR, as you pointed out, and then the park experience, in-person park experience, will be for those that save up and are ready to spend all those dollars. So I do think it's going to be a critical part of the Disney strategy. Um, just as a disclosure, Disney Resorts is my former client, so I've got some time to visit. And I went to their Orlando location as a speaker to talk about some digital tech trends, and then I was able to do a tour of the behind the scenes of the park and stuff. So I have a good sense of like their culture and how they like to innovate. And the thing is, they plan decades in advance. They're already thinking about content for your grandchildren, Randy. I kid you not. I'm not joking. They literally are thinking about this like decades out.
Yes, they're a very well-oiled machine. Did
Yeah.
did you happen to talk to any of the Imagineers there that
Yeah.
do? Oh,
We had a few speak at our events, and I also brought one of my companies to tour. And I've also met a few Imagineers who I'm still in touch with as well, and they're quite amazing people.
they're brilliant. I've only actually had I haven't had the pleasure of meeting any, but the people that know them speak nothing but highly about them.
Yeah,
So,
extremely amazing people.
uh, so something I did want to pick your brain about.
Yeah.
It seems that the end user is pretty important to you. You had made that clear when you talked about, hey, did Web 2 really benefit the end user as far as
Mhm.
economically? But you do have obviously a foot in the Fortune 500 companies that you advise. Do you think that there's any truth to the theory that there is a class war as far as people? Let's say like Disney that say like, hey, this is only going to be for people that can afford it, and the rest of the people can just be in the metaverse as a way of like separation.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to say something like that, but we do know that let's just talk about USA for the moment,
Yeah.
that there's significant stratification of wealth levels and access, and it's getting further pulled apart. And so they need to have the products and the solutions for each part of the market. So I do think that's how it will be built in those cases. Yes.
So you have obviously there's a lot of political strife because the amount of space between the 1% and everyone else does get bigger as time goes on.
Yeah.
But I think it can be argued successfully that the rising tide raises all ships. What's some of your advice to people that just have a phone and they don't have anything crazy, how they can capitalize on Web3 by themselves?
I think Web3 offers the opportunity for the smoothing of those stratification of the classes. And the thought is that by using Web3, those that are participating in the internet can actually earn from it, can benefit. So people right now that are using Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp or Google, the benefit for them is they get to use these free products, but they're not really benefiting from the financial upsides, and they don't have any governance, and they can't create whatever they want. There's limitations.
Yeah.
But Web3 is going to put some of that power back in the hands of the people. That is the thought. Whether they can play to earn games, or they can purchase some of the assets, and hopefully they might increase in value over time, or they earn or purchase tokens or airdrop tokens for participating in a DAO or a community or a game or a NFT project, and then they can vote on the direction of the project. I mean, we see these examples. Remember those 5 attributes: governance, data, your identity, the ability to build, and then the financial upside. Those are the 5 things to think about, those characteristics. The thought is that Web3 can help the people, the regular people, those that are creating the content, those that are participating, to financially benefit. And it's not limited to just influencers. It's not just limited to people that have amazing live streams like you, Randy, but it's for all internet users that are here and are watching content. They should benefit as well.
What do you think of the integration between people and technology that we could essentially be described as cyborgs because we always have a phone attached to us,
Right.
and that will only get more intimate as time goes on?
Mhm.
How do you think that will affect the developing brains of the younger generation where they wouldn't know a world without technology or cell phones?
For sure, and that's a great point. So I think my friend Amber Case was the one to use that term, that we already are cyborgs, and she pointed out that if we take away your phone, like, so Randy, you and I had breakfast, and if I said, Randy, give me your phone, which you would give to me because we're buds, but
Yeah.
I took it and I put it in my bag, and we had a conversation for an hour, you would probably feel anxiety. What the F is Jeremiah doing with my phone? Is he going to give it back, or do I got to beat him up? Like, and if you might hear a vibration from another table, like zzz, 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 you're like, is somebody trying to ping me? Like, you would have anxiety, and you would feel like a part of your body has been cut off over time, right? And now imagine if I kept that phone like for a day or two, and I said, I'll give it back to you at the end of NFT NYC, you would be dilapidated. You wouldn't be able to function and do your business, right? Let alone, get the maps,
Yeah.
you know where to go to which party or event. So we are already dependent upon technology. And I think there's, plenty of studies that have been shown that our attention span has decreased, and we're only consuming simple content rather than doing deep critical thinking. Those skills are being lost, especially with adults who don't have, formal training. Like the students today are still being taught critical thinking, how to ask questions, how to think deeper. Um, but but now as an adult, like I cannot function without tech, because it's, I'm a knowledge worker. That's how I have to run my business as I'm a CMO of a Web3 company. So there's no way I can function without tech. But to the second part of your question on today's kids, some of the tech elite, they don't give their kids phones or iPads until they're much older, right? So they
Yeah.
know, like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, and who passed on, and Mark Zuckerberg, they know not to give their kids these addictive tools right from the start. So I
Yeah.
think that's something to be careful of. Like I have a kid who's starting middle school, and she does not have a phone yet, but she does have a laptop, but we limit how much she can use. Good question. Deep question.
Do you think that that might be kind of holding her back when the rest of her peers are, like she might not get that TikTok. She might not have seen that was really, really funny that everyone's talking about. And you might be, I don't know, in a sense, uh, yeah, kind of just holding it back from some things that the rest of the world are enjoying.
There's going to be upsides and downsides to giving your kids tech versus pulling it back. And the goal is to give the right amount of tech and the right tech. And I'm not sure TikTok dances are going to help them, um, you know, maybe to be socially relevant at school in their social circles. Sure. Um, I think there's a challenge in finding that balance. And then, I mean, it's such a challenge because I'm like, I'm not going to be reviewing all the content on our phone. Like, there's no way I can scale and do that. It's just, I think the better thing is to teach the kids how to self manage when they see that content. Which content is just designed to give you a dopamine hit, so you end up in an endless doom scroll,
Yeah.
versus how can you find content that helps you to think and grow so you can make the right decisions in your life. So, by the way, I haven't figured this out.
I don't think anyone.
I mean,
It's
me
the first time.
personally, oh, I was doom scrolling on Reddit last night at like 1 a.m. So I believe me, I'm not the perfect model here.
Oh no, same. At the same time, I was on r/conspiracy theories, just like looking for like the best conspiracy theories to
Yeah.
cover. So much fun. But
Yeah.
so what do you make about the further integration of it, where in the next 20 years it'll be commonplace to know somebody that has a Neuralink chip, where they can be in the metaverse because that's what without having a face shield, because that's what the chip is telling them to do when they have these weird senses and smells that they. Um, what do you think of that?
I haven't looked into Neuralink, but I'm a little skeptical of putting anything in my brain that's
No.
technological. But it might be something that many people do who lose, their cognitive prowess as they get older. But I am not well versed on that topic, and I'm
Okay.
not sure about what's up in Elon Musk's head right now. So I'm not putting his tech in my head. He's acting kind of erratic lately.
I think that's par for the course for him. I think
Yeah,
that he's doing that for a while.
true.
So you mentioned that your CMO. You didn't say the name. It's of Rally. Can you tell us a little bit about Rally and what
Yeah,
it is
sure.
and why we should be excited?
Sure. I'm the CMO of Rally Network. So you can go to rly.network. We just launched our new website, so take a look. So Rally Network enables entrepreneurs and developers to launch their own token economy. Just like the OMI has its own token, or Ecomi has its own token, and just like the Bored Apes have their own token, the Ape Coin, just like Cool Cats has their own token, the Milk Coin, just like Sandbox has their own token, the Sand. Any project or app can have their own token. Even creators can have their own token. Like if Randy, you wanted to launch your own token, we have technologies and tools that can enable that. And this means that your community could benefit, or any community could benefit by voting, or can share in the financial upsides, or can use the token to transact amongst each other. So I'm in the token economy market.
So I've been wanting to do this for some time, but for my not good brain is trying to think of the best way to give it utility and make sure it's not just, hey, just buy and hold. What is the best way for me to
Sure. Yeah.
for my followers, to get something out of it?
So in a similar way that you're using, so there's two models. One is like to buy and hold to get access to perks, and the other one is to transact. So you are using Patreon, which is a great example of getting access to perks by paying and being a member, and patronizing the artist and the creator. And so you could have users purchase tokens to access perks similar to Patreon, or they can earn it as well, like by sharing your content online. You could drop them tokens. So that's how it's a little different than Patreon. Secondly, you can also offer perks. They could be physical goods, like physical comics or digital comics, that could be purchased using the token that you offer. Let's just call it Randy Coin for the moment. You could also offer services where you could maybe review somebody's information, or you could do a shout out to them, in an experience. Or a third one is an experience. So goods, services, and experiences, like a premium show, or a special show, or behind the scenes access to content, or physical event, a meetup. So the token can be used in different ways. It's really to help an economy boost up. So lots of ways it can be used. And of course, Web3 isn't just about currency. Like if you can access somebody's wallet and find out, do they hold this token or NFT, you can provide them a unique experience on the website or other ways as well. So it is, programmable money. You can use it as logic for a web experience, or even more. There's one NFT project that I'm part of called Pool Suite, and they created this cool QR code that goes into my wallet, my Apple Wallet or Google Wallet. And so when I go to their events, I just show that, and it has a QR code, and they let me right into the event. So like there's ways to integrate it with the physical world as well.
Oh,
so
that is cool.
Yeah, there's lots of things that can be done with these technologies. We're just uncovering the benefits.
And what is the general size that people do? Like your coin or Peter Shankman's coin, do you print like 1,000, 10,000, 100,000? What's the general size that people want?
Yeah, it varies on numerous factors. So it's also the size of the community, and you can price in the quantity of the coin in different ways. So like a celebrity, like a tier one celebrity that might have a coin, they're going to have probably lower cost coins and millions of them available.
Yeah.
And you could have an unlimited supply or a fixed supply. So it's hard to answer that question because it really varies on that. But I think more importantly is, what can you do with the coin as a coin holder or a purchaser?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I said, we'll talk further about it, because if I do something, I really want it to be useful for everyone, and make sure that, if I'm giving that use to people, that I'm also not taking like 20 hours a week to do it, and I'm making like, only a small amount.
Yeah, I totally get that. But I could also imagine where many of the veve streamers and content creators could have their own coin as a community and a collective, and you could all use it too. Like I can imagine ways where you could all work together. So, early days, and it's good to explore how this could be done. It's not right for every creator. It's not right for every app or metaverse. But when it is unleashed in the right way, it helps to make incentives align so the community is more loyal and benefits as well.
So that's another thing I want to talk about is community. What are and obviously there's different communities, like Reddit's one and 4chan's another, and metaverse of video games are another. What type of communities do you see as being the most valuable in Web3?
That's a good question. Those that are the most engaged. So, some of the best communities are the ones that are in charge of their own destiny. So, a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. One popular one is like Friends with Benefits. I'm also part of some other ones are related to art communities where they can determine what is the future, right? And they have, you can vote in delegates or everybody could be direct voters. So it is like a democracy.
Yeah.
And those are the most valuable because they can actually, they own their own piece of this. They all own it together like a co-op.
Yeah.
So I
So
think,
could you,
Mhm.
sorry, could you explain the friends with benefits thing? I think me and everyone in the audience just immediately thought of something that was not what you meant. Can you explain the company or what they do?
Sure. Okay. So Friends with Benefits is a DAO and their URL is fwb.help. And it's a bunch of often Gen Z, Gen Y community members, and they all own at least 75 FWB tokens.
Okay.
And if you own those tokens, you are now part of that DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. Just think digital cooperative,
Yeah.
like a workers co-op. And when you do that, you get access to their private chat rooms. You get access to their events, their local events in your city. You get access to their newsletter. You get access to alpha information about anything that's important to them, including access to NFT projects that are about to mint. And they also, can vote on what are the future things that are going to happen. So they're in charge of their own destiny. So that's an example of what that is.
Yeah. A couple of people wanted to buy Randy coin. That'd be great.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, and that. So how do we get is your coin called Jiaoyang?
It is JOW.
How do we
And
go and get
it's,
that?
yeah, so that's on rally.io. You can get that. But I'm slowing down my usage of the coin right now. So I'm not pushing people to go get it right now because I'm
Yeah.
so involved in my full-time role as a
Yeah.
CMO. But there's other creators that have coins, streamers and gamers. So go take a look at all the options
Yeah.
out there.
So why did you decide to accept the position as CMO,
Thanks.
specifically at Rally?
Got it. And so just to be clear, I'm not the CMO of rally.io, which is the creator coins. I'm CMO of Rally Network Association, which runs the core software. And so the software is used by many projects. So we also have games called Joyride Networks that are using our software, Rally Protocol. That's the name of the software. We have a website called Taki, Taki, which is it's like Twitter. And when
Okay.
users use it in Asia, they can earn the Taki token. We also have a version of called Hotline, where adult content creators, similar to OnlyFans, have their own tokens, and people can purchase their tokens and access their content there.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
right, because what OnlyFans turned off monetization in 2020 for a period of time for creators, and creators were really pissed off,
Yeah.
especially during the pandemic. So we are about the tokens can again help the people to have the power over their own destiny. That's really the bigger vision. So that's why it was important to me to be involved in this project, because I see that bigger vision.
Yeah.
um yeah.
Both
I
the ones
was
that
an
you
advisor. What's up?
no, I said both the ones that you mentioned seem really great. I was wondering if Taki though, do you think there might be confusion if that gets bigger between Taki and Takis, the little
Right.
chip, spicy chips?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Maybe I think it's spelled slightly different, so that's
Oh,
one way
okay,
to
disregard.
differentiate.
But sorry, as you're saying.
There's another one called Gambit, which
Mhm.
is fantasy sports. So you pick your NBA players or your football players, and you assemble your team. And if your virtual team starts to win, you can earn the Gambit coins as they start to build that out. So we're looking at lots of use cases in socialfi, gaming, gamefi, gaming, um, all those industries that where people are spending time and not earning. We think that they can use a token so the community can earn coins, participate, purchase more coins, and unlock new benefits. So that's why I'm excited about that, because it's the next phase of the Web 3.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's insane. So
like
when you
like
have
for example, by the way, veve app. Like, I know you guys are buying omi token and many of my friends do that, but shouldn't we be earning omi Yes, I know that's in the bigger plans when the metaverse launches, like there might be staking and gems and things like that. But for those that are so vested in helping the Ecomi brand, like we should be earning those tokens. They should be naturally falling into our wallets. There should be new models unlocked.
I think a lot of people will be surprised at how much utility and ways to get OMI will happen when OUP rolls out and the article rolls out later this quarter. I
Okay.
also, yeah,
Sounds like you have some information that others don't.
I think that I don't know how I'm going to plead the fifth on that one, but
Gotcha.
but there are ways that you can get OMI now where that OUP doesn't have to roll out. Like, do you have a fiche?
A
You know,
what?
a fiche. So there's this project called the Fiches where
I
Brock
don't have that.
McBlockchain they he has all you have to do is you mint a fiche. It's like one of 10,000 fiche, like a fish, and you get for free. You get a tank that you could put your fiche in. You get a mech suit that you could put your fiche in, and you can fight other fiche, and you
Nice.
can wager OMI. So what you do is you find someone else like, hey, how much you want to bet? I'll bet you 10,000 OMI or 5,000 OMI that you beat them, and
Love it.
the the game keeps 10%. Out of that 10%, 50% of it is burned, and then you could earn OMI that way. So there are going to be projects, multiple other ones that come out that will have nothing to do with the Komi, that will just use the OMI token just to gain access to our network, and they'll have some play to earn or play to burn games.
Okay, so those are third-party apps that are going to be using the OMI token, is what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Fiche is run by Brock McBlockchain, and the guy takes no OMI. Every single OMI that goes into the arena or the game either
Right.
gets burned or gets sent back into people's wallets via prize pools and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I get it. That makes total sense, and that is absolutely the future. And so when we think about a mature economy with a token is where the community starts to make their own marketplaces or games that use the token, and it wasn't always required by the initial party who created it.
yeah,
So we see the same thing with the sandbox and where people are creating games there on third party, and also the ape token from Bored Apes is being used in games as well. So those are all signs of mature markets with the token. So that's great. Can you drop the link in the chat to that fish game? I'd
yes,
like to
I
see that.
can. I can. Oh, so it's brilliant. They and the guy puts on airdrops. So if you have a Fiche, you get airdrops every month.
Uh-huh.
You could sell those airdrops, and not only that, but you can go like he takes the profits from it and he sweeps the floors of the airdrops and he buys them up, and then he goes in and gives them back to the community. So
Wow.
there's a lot of really good reasons to do that, and I'm putting it in the chat right now. It's just fiches.com. Um, that should be there momentarily.
Cool.
Like there's something that I say a lot. Like the price is what you pay, and value is what you get. There's a lot of value in that. I will probably mint some more as time goes on. Uh, Speaking of other projects, what are some other projects that you've gone into that you're in the green or that you're in the black with that you have so far? If you sold now, would make some money.
Um I wouldn't say I'm in the black, but I'm underwater, but I'm glad I did get it is a Meebit. So a Meebit is part of um a larger NFT project that's been around as Blue Chip, and a Meebit is going to be a virtual avatar um, for metaverse experiences, and so it's related to CryptoPunks. So Meebits, so they produce like 20,000, which is a lot, and each one is one of one, so they're individual. So I'm glad I purchased that. It's held some value, but again, I'm negative. The other one I mentioned is Pool Suite, which is an NFT community,
Yeah.
and they will the money's being pulled together. So their whole vibe and think a theme is like a 1980s Miami party. And it's got like this whole like they have music and they sell sunscreen and candles, and they have events and people like dress up and wear cool 80s stuff, and it's like its own vibe. Pool
Okay.
Suite. And they're the money that was raised, they're going to be purchasing a mansion where the NFT holders can go and hang out and party. So that's pretty wild. Similar to like Links now. Links now is going to purchase a golf course, right? So thinking like that. I'm
Yeah.
not a big party guy, and like I'm not going to fly in with a helicopter and like blow cocaine or anything like that, like the '80s style. But it's just like a fun vibe.
So 80s in Miami. This is,
Right, I know. So you got to check out Pool Suite, and there's a whole like it started off as like a radio station where people would just listen to their vibes, especially during the pandemic, and it just grew and grew. So I'm part of that one. That's a fun one. There's another one called CPG. It's a Club CPG. It's an NFT community that has a lot of marketers involved, and so I'm part of that one. That one's fun. And then of course I own numerous VV assets, including I'm definitely in the black with Spider-Man animated. I did sell one. I bought two. I bought them for around $2,000, and at the time I was like, "Damn, that's a lot of money." But they hold value. I bought a number of the Superman, but it hasn't gone up. They produced too many assets, 8,888, and then I have a couple Todds. And then I have two partners statues, which I know are going to do well over long term, and those are in the black. But I'd say for VV though, I'm in the black, but it's just hard to sell assets. There's just not a tremendous amount of liquidity at the moment. So I could list a whole bunch of stuff, but it may not sell for a long time. So I think that's something that, well, the market's down right now.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely a long-term believer in VV, and I have many of those assets.
Yeah. So I think right now we're coming to this like an inflection point where you have a bunch of the people, like a bunch of whales that up until this last 2 weeks were able to, on the web app, could buy 10,000 gems, 7,500 gems, whatever. And now they have to wait to get KYC'd to buy that again, because now everyone's that's not KYC'd is limited to 500 gems per week because
Of purchasing?
Yes, because VV's
That's
on the
weird.
hook for that right now. If there's credit card fraud or whatever, so now they have to have KYC in order to purchase more than that, which will be
Wow,
done within the
that's
next
kind
2
of
weeks.
new, right? To have
Yeah,
KYC to purchase.
yeah, that'll
Um,
be within the next 2 weeks, everyone should be KYC'd.
Everybody in the entire app?
Yes, and
I have not received an email yet for me to KYC.
you will.
Okay.
They're onboarding users like they're sending out emails for it like every couple of days now. So you'll get one at some point.
Cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I want that option to liquidate, but I actually am not rushing to cash out.
Yeah. So you mentioned that they had too many mints for Superman. I wanted to push back on that a little bit.
Go ahead.
Maybe for right now, with the amount of users that we have and the lack of liquidity in the markets, because some whales are, kind of have hands behind around their back. In the next couple of months, when you have OMI to NFT and whatever goes up first, like right now, OMI's gone up 60% over the last like month, give or take.
Okay.
And the collectibles have gone down maybe 40%. So if things stay the same right now, and over the next month or so, we get OMI to NFT, then you could take that OMI that has gone up 60%. You could buy the NFTs with it, wait for a bunch of whales to come in, like me, or people that have a bunch of money, but it's in OMI. I don't have $50,000 in my bank account, but I have a lot of that in OMI.
Right.
There'll be a lot of arbitrage moments where you could be able to, hey, OMI's up, collectibles are down. I'll buy some of these collectibles, especially the low mint, especially season one. Wait for that to go up, and they just go back and forth. Also, the VV's done no marketing. Part of the reason why I love them is because of the lack of marketing that they did. They don't, like you said, why aren't we earning OMI right now for onboarding users and having this? Because we're all doing it for free. We don't, VV doesn't really need to, and Acomi doesn't really need to do that. Maybe they will at some point, but it's really going to be other companies that are going to be advertising their own NFTs, obviously on VV. So yeah, I'm very, very bullish on that. I'm very excited. One of the other things that I saw you mention was the Todd, and there is, I don't know if you've noticed, when there's, let's say, anything on OpenSea, let's say something's worth 10 ETH, as of a few months ago, let's say when ETH was worth $3,000.
Yeah, I remember that.
And let's say ETH, let's say, just got cut in half. Let's say it went to $1,500. Now you would expect that because that product on OpenSea, it didn't change, no more were minted, that in order to keep the same amount of price as ETH had gone down 50%, maybe you would have to spend double the amount of ETH. Now it'd be 20 ETH because the price of ETH had gone down, but that's not what happened. The amount of ETH that you had to spend also went down. And I've looked at this at projects across the board. So the same thing should happen inversely. As the price of ETH goes up, you would have to spend more ETH as well. So not only are you spending, let's say something's 5 ETH right now, which is not a lot of money. Let's say it's, like six grand. When ETH doubles, not only you'd have to spend more than 12 grand because the amount of ETH you would have to spend would also go up. Instead of spending 5, you'd have to spend 7 or 8 or 10. And I calculated the other day that if we take Cathie Wood's prediction that Ethereum would have a $20 trillion market cap by 2030, and we cut that in half. Let's say she's way off, and she's conservative in a lot of things. But let's say it's only a $10 trillion market cap. Well, that's like $88,000 per ETH for Ethereum. And if the TOD, let's say, is 1 or 2 ETH, the TOD is probably going to be a couple $100,000 at that price point. And that's if you only have to pay 1 or 2 ETH for them. Do you think that's wild? Do you think that's crazy? Or do you think I unlocked something really interesting?
There's a lot of other factors to consider. One is, will those assets, the NFTs, will they be listed on the mainnet, like OpenSea, which would really help with the liquidity and getting access to new buyers. Secondly, is Marvel and Disney and DC going to support these NFTs? Like, they have other projects and things, and they don't talk about them as much. Will there be utility to use these in park or in the metaverse or in a game, or is it just a collectible that's out there like a stuffed animal and they just don't talk about it after they release it? So I think that also matters. The other factor is, will the comic community finally, the traditional comic community, will they wake up to the digital comics and therefore the collectibles as well, or are they not going to be as interested? And I looked into that market as well. So I think there's other factors too, not just ETH and ETH pricing. I think it's important that we are able to purchase the veve assets, not just with OMI or gems, but with, there can be other ways to bridge in liquidity and tokens. So I think there's other factors as well.
I love all of those questions, and I was smiling because I've thought about that as well.
Right.
And there's probably going to be other ways to pay for NFTs outside of OMI. Now, in the background, yeah. So here's what I think. When you said, "Are we going to be on OpenSea?" and we'll probably
they said that they want to do that.
Yeah, they'll probably be on Immutable X, GameStop NFT, Coinbase NFT Marketplace, all that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they would need to. I think that all the Ethereum whales that really only on OpenSea or Verify or whatever, they would come over to veve to get that stuff. And the OMI exchange would probably happen in the background. But I think that's
possible too. That's a good point. Just making it easy to convert ETH to, or Solana or Bitcoin to OMI then would be, I think, and most people would do that on gate.io, right?
You could do that at Forex, but I'm saying they might not need to. Mm-hmm. It could just happen on the app, on the veve app itself. And
so my main thing is, I am definitely bullish on veve and the assets, and I've spent a lot of money on the assets. I just think there's a lot of things required till I think this project is mature, and so I'm going to be holding it for a long time. Although I do want to take a little bit of profits. I think that's one thing that I learned in this last cycle is I held on to many of my NFT assets in crypto, and I didn't cash out along the way. And that's just doing good financial hygiene, that I learned a lesson for myself. Not advising anybody to do anything. I'm just talking about my personal lessons. Yeah.
That's a good point.
So, by the way, I ran into David Yu at NFT NYC.
Yeah. How's he doing?
Yeah, he was good. He didn't recognize me. I had to explain who I was. So, but I was at the OpenSea party. It was on a rooftop deck in Manhattan. a beautiful deck, and they had like blue LED lights everywhere because that's like their color. And there was a guy and there was a bunch of people around him, and I saw, and he had a real cool haircut, like, you know, his coif, and it's like that. And and then he turned around, on the back of his shirt it said veve.me. I go, oh, that's David. So I went up and said hi to him, and I showed him my Veve account. Look at all these assets I have.
Yeah.
And I had to explain who I was. Like we've exchanged emails and tweets, but you know, he's got thousands of fans. Yeah. And he's pretty funny. The first thing out of his mouth to the group of us was like, "Hey, you guys are going to be so excited. We've got KYC coming," because he knew that's what we're all going to ask. But he's a very nice guy, and I look forward to you know, seeing him again. And I love what they've built. So that was fun to run into him.
Yeah, no, he's great. Part of the reason why I invested so much is because of the team. You know, him, Dan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the advisors are great.
It's a winning team. My God, with Alfred's background and the deals that they've done.
But
he did say as well, like there's going to be a big announcement of some partnership in the future. I don't know if he's just teasing us, but he did say that they're working on that.
He loves to tease. But yeah, I don't know when they'll announce that. I'd like them to announce it at San Diego Comic-Con, because that's where a lot of big things are announced. You know, Disney will do stuff there, Marvel will do stuff there, but
it seems like the place to do it.
Yeah, that's generally what it is. Like, I hope to get it on live stream. I hope to get it on there. And I know
What do you think it's going to be?
Well, David had mentioned on my podcast that there's a bunch of tiered brands. You know, C, B, you know, A, and A is like the brands that have 50 million followers plus. So I'd be thinking, okay, what are some things that licenses that we already have, like WB and Universal, that own the rights to Harry Potter? So I was thinking that might be one thing. I was thinking that, you know, if you have, I mean, for Comic-Con, you have, you know, it's comic is in the word. You could have the DC comics come over, and we could have Action Comics #1 and have all those grails. Or it could be what everyone's waiting for, and it could be Pokemon or Nintendo. Mm-hmm. And you know, any one of those. It could be Lord of the Rings. It could be Rocky.
It could be Star Wars.
I mean, we already have a bunch of Star Wars. So.
Right. Oh, sorry. You're right. We do. That's right. We have Darth lightsabers and then the droids.
Yeah.
But it could be a bigger thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so excited to see what it will be. I don't know. And again, I don't know if it'll be announced there. But if it is, great. If not, maybe they just want to do some marketing. I mean, it could be artists as well. It could be music. There's so many verticals that we don't have yet. It could be anime. Anime would be, God, this is the second biggest thing at Comic-Con. Everyone is dressing up as anime characters.
Have they had any more stamps beyond the Day of the Dead and like what's in the stamp field?
Yeah, so they had, it was really weird. They had the Christmas stamps, which are fine. They had Title IX women's stamps, and then they had recently George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln,
wow.
Like those stamps, and I was like, whoa, those are really cool. But yeah, the ones that I really like the most are the Day of the Dead ones, and then the Christmas stamps. And then I love. I should have said this first. I was born in the year of the horse.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, and they have the stamps of the ox, of the. They have a couple of those stamps. And I like those just about the Chinese zodiac.
I bought a bunch of the Day of the Dead. I bought 3 sets, full sets.
Yeah.
And I was able to get them all in the same mint number.
Oh, you have a matching set.
I have a matching set, yeah.
So
and then I also bought the physical stamps. I ordered them from USPS.com. Yeah. And so I can sell everything as one unit.
Yeah, so that'll happen as well in the future. You'll be able to not just sell one thing; you can sell the whole collection,
the set, and try to match up numbers.
Yeah, that's really, really hard to do, and people will pay huge premiums for that.
Right.
There's so people pay a premium in let's say Pokemon. If you have a graded card, and let's say it has like a mint number, or that's the grade number that it has. If you have ascending mint numbers, like you sent them all in to get graded at the same time, people pay a premium for that. So translating that to having the same mint numbers across the board.
Anything that has rarity.
that has because so many people are not going to be able to do that, and so many people will want to do that, and most people just can't. So there's a lot of big deals going on behind the scenes for mint numbers that are that are private, like the Secret Rare Spider-Man 45 and the Day of the Dead Ultra Rare number 41 together. Those sold for $100,000, and it's just because the person that bought it really likes the mint number. The person that bought it originally that had those really liked those mint numbers, but the first of anything is just going to be buku dollars.
Yeah, I think it's going to take some time, and we'll wait until the market conditions are in a better state.
Yeah.
I got to run to another thing in just a minute, Randy.
Okay, so we'll end now. I'll just talk to you a little bit off camera for a bit. Thank you so much for coming on.
I just wanted to thank everybody for joining, and I see all the comments, and thank you all. And Randy, thank you for having me. Great to be here with you digitally.
Thanks for coming on.
And it was great to see you in person in New York too.
Yeah, can't wait to see you again at some point.
Cool.
All right, we'll end the broadcast